Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film The Secret Agent, directed by Kleber, Mendonça, Filho. This film has been hyped so much. It's got a lot of critical acclaim. I'd read a lot about it before seeing it. It's up for Best Picture and Best Actor Oscars. So I went in with quite high expectations. I didn't hate this film, but I really can't see what all the fuss is about. I was never fully engaged, and tonally the film is all over the place. First and foremost, this is a political thriller set in 1970s Brazil, a time of military dictatorship and terrible corruption. And obviously it made me think of the recent Walter Salles film, I'm Still Here. And inevitably you make a comparison with those, and I definitely didn't enjoy Secret Agent as much as I did I'm Still Here. In Secret Agent, there's such a tonal incoherence. There are these jarring shifts in tone. One minute it's a political thriller, the next minute it's a homage to cinema. There's a lot of references to Jaws in this film because it's set at the time that Jaws came out. And then it turns into a B-movie horror film. If I was going to say something positive about the film, I would say that these tonal changes are courageous. He's not just made the predictable political thriller that it would have been easy to make, but it just hasn't worked. And the kind of tonal differences completely undermine the gravity of the political subject matter that he is addressing in this film. I also found that the film had a real emotional coldness. I never fully connected with the characters. Part of this is that the story is told in fragments in a non-linear way, and it sometimes glosses over big events, and I particularly never felt a connection to Marcelo, the main character. I never really cared about what was happening to him. Marcelo was played by Wagner Moura, and he's up for Best Actor Oscar. I never felt connected to him. Is it an Oscar performance? It's really underplayed, and not in a way that made the character more interesting. The cinematography for this film is interesting. It has this very effective 1970s aesthetic. It wasn't filmed with film, it was a digital camera with vintage lenses. And given the emphasis on making this look authentic, perhaps the fact that it was filmed digitally kind of undermines the authenticity that the film is looking for. Perhaps you could say that the image has kind of been ultra curated, and maybe this draws attention to the craft rather than the story. Perhaps it's just too stylized. There again, the critics have praised the look of this film as, that the cinematography is one of the strong points. And it does look good, so does it really matter? For me, probably not. I wouldn't have noticed. I'm not sufficiently discerning enough to really know whether it was shot on film or digital. So in that sense, if I hadn't have known it was filmed digitally, it probably wouldn't bother me. But it does emphasize the style over substance of this film. Perhaps that contributes to the emotional coldness and the lack of engagement I had with this film. Interestingly, it's not up for Best Cinematography Oscar, which is perhaps surprising given the praise that it's received. I want to make a comment on the B-movie horror element of this film. I just found it really silly. I can understand that this is a political metaphor, that actually in the 1970s, it's based on truth, that due to the police brutality and the kind of press censorship, there were stories of a killer hairy leg, which was a coded way for the press and the public to discuss state-sponsored violence. This is potentially clever, having this in the film, but it just didn't work. It just felt too silly and too tonally jarring. What I did think was particularly good about this film was the non-linear construction of it. I said earlier that it's filmed in fragments, and perhaps this contributed to the lack of engagement, but it does it is puzzling at first, and then it does come together by the end in a fairly satisfying way. Would I recommend The Secret Agent? Not really. It's 160 minutes. It's far too long, which this length is not justified. It feels very self-indulgent. I think that the film I'm Still Here is much better. This isn't as good, but it probably will win Oscars, so what do I know? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.